I'm working at ESCP Europe, which is a European business school. We are located in 6 different countries, in France, which is the historical campus, and then London, Berlin, Madrid, Turin, and Warsaw. So, many places, but we specialize in business and management. So yeah, I put some contents just to give you the idea of this presentation, so just the general framework, but Kevin already mentioned many information about that. Locations, so possibilities, institutions, not going into details, you will see programs, practical information about the student life in Europe, the benefits of studying in Europe, but I will not go into details, you can read on the screen, and especially useful resources, because you have many websites on which you can access to information for each country, tuition fees, practical information, so that can be really useful for you. So yeah, this is just really something that is worth mentioning, is that it's common since the Bologna process in 1999. It's a common area for education. So they tried to harmonize all of the diplomas, so you can have this mobility around in Europe, and also to be internationally recognized. So that's just some information, especially with the scheme, bachelor, master, doctorate, and the ECTS, which are the credits that you can transfer from a school to another one, and which are really practical. Even if you want to go back to the US after that, universities, institutions in the US, they recognize ECTS. So this is really important, and what you need to know is that 1 year is 60 ECTS, a bachelor in 3 years it's 180, and then that's how it works. About the locations, I just tried to look up some information like rankings about cities according to students for this ranking. So Barcelona is the #1, but you can see that you have also some nice places. Prague, which is really trending as well. Athens in Greece, pretty cheap. So these are just some information, and it includes elements from student life, but also different aspects, how easy it is to get an accommodation or to go around, these kind of things. And the top 10 most expensive European cities, this is also something that is maybe you need to know before going there. Paris is there. There is not London in this, because London it's mostly about accommodation, but then the rest is, these rankings, you take them as they are, but you can always manipulate this kind of information. So London is not in these rankings. But for sure, Zurich is really expensive, Scandinavian countries as well. So yeah, that's just, one, and it was in 2018, so it changes from a year to another. Just some examples of, I don't know if you can really see, but like the most expensive underneath and above the least expensive. So this is for public transportation. You can see some cities. It's Europe in a very broad concept, because you have Tbilisi in Georgia and Armenia as well. So but they are part of the first screen that I showed you, the first EHEA. This is about museum, cultural things. So as you can see, it's almost the same countries, pretty expensive, including Amsterdam for cultural activities. And yeah. And about beer, just something that can be useful for students.
Touching the age.
Yeah. Well, about institutions, just to differentiate, the type of institutions that you can get, it's very difficult to have sort of mapping of all of that. So you can either say it's a state, public university, or private, and then specialized or general. For instance, my school, it's really specialized, but you can have also private schools, but with general, like the network of Catholic universities in France, for example, they offer any type of fields to study, but they are private. So this is the kind of distinction. And obviously you have more public universities in some countries, in Finland and Greece, but as Kevin told you, for international students, if you don't have a European passport, you can pay tuition fees, although it's supposed to be free for all the students, but that's how it works. Something that you have to consider as well, because it's very much different from the US, it's the campus. Which type of campus do you want? In Europe, most of the time, the campuses are in the cities, except maybe in the UK, but in some specific universities, also in France. But this is something that you have to consider before applying, or when you want to select a university. Do you want to be in the city, or do you want to be outside the city, in a city university, kind of? And also something that you have to consider, and I'm telling you that because we have this possibility. So it's either you go to one campus, you know that you want to go just to one country or one city for 3 years, 5 years, or you want to have this possibility to move around, especially with the Erasmus program, Erasmus Plus, and that can be in Europe, but also outside of Europe with academic partnerships. Or you have also universities like multi-campus universities like us. So you have to move around every year. So this is also something that you have to consider before applying, to Europe. If you really want to, if you're aiming for a country, or if you really want to have a better experience. But anyway, it's easy to travel around Europe. So if you want to stay in one country, you can go around pretty easily on your days off. About the academic life, just some information. So it's difficult to give you precise information about that because it's just up to the institutions and to the countries. Usually you tend to have more relationship with the professors, the teachers, smaller classes. International cohorts, it depends on the schools, on the universities. That's really something that you have to look at as well and ask the representatives whenever you have the chance to talk with them. But something really important, and maybe this is a general trend, it's developing professional skills. So in Europe, it's very focused on doing internships. I don't know really in the US, but it's not so much part of the programs usually. In Europe now it's very developed and you have to get professional experience, usually the 3rd year, but now it can start from the 1st year as well. And especially at the master level is really mandatory. This is the purpose of doing a master, is to get this professional experience. About the programs, well, Europe is well known for some specific fields. The business schools in Europe are really top ranked. That's something that's empirical. For science and engineering as well. Fashion, luxury, hospitality in Switzerland, for example. They're really good for that. Languages and translation, because we have so many languages taught in Europe. So if you really want to study translation, interpretation in Switzerland, it's a good place, for instance. And diplomacy as well in Switzerland, in Luxembourg, in Belgium, in France, But you have many different programs also in Central Europe for this kind of topics. So you have many opportunities in Europe, in all the fields. This is just a little bit. And you have to ask yourself the question about languages. So you can study entirely in English, but you can also study in local languages, if you master those languages, obviously. You can have a mix also of English and other languages. And some other languages, leading global languages, Chinese, Arabic. So this is also a possibility in some institutions. So you need really to take a look at the possibilities in terms of languages and what you can do. This is, I will be coming back to this, it's from our website, Study in Europe. It gives you for 23 countries the tuition fees structure. for EU students and non-EU students. So that can be a very useful tool for you if you want. Hey, come on in.
I use this moment to let everyone know. We'll share with all parents the video of the presentation and the content. So the PowerPoint will be shared. We'll send it to Michelle so that she can mail it to all of you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
you don't have to
so
write
much,
down. Yeah.
I love that. It's so much useful information you've put together that I feel like you need some time afterwards to look it up at home and go back to it.
I guess I
So
was
this
inspired
will be shared.
during the flight. So.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's a great job. No, I'm really impressed.
So yeah, you can really have practical information about the tuition fees, but only in 23 countries. So for the countries that are not represented with this table, it's it's already some. So yeah, these are the countries that. Sorry, I'm showing here, but it's not really. Here on the right, you can see the countries that are listed in the table, and obviously for international, as Kevin was saying, it's a little bit more expensive, but still less expensive than the US. And you have scholarships, obviously. That's also something that you need to check with each university or institution. If they offer financial aid, how it works, on which criteria, these kind of things. And about when to apply the admission process, usually it can be a rolling process, but again, it depends on the institutions. And also the distinction between EU and non-EU. So that's something that you have to check. And also you can apply through UCAS and for some universities through Common App. For instance, for us, you can apply through Common App. That's a possibility.
But as an international, not as a French.
As a European.
Both?
Both. It depends. I'm not so familiar with Common App, so I cannot really give you this information. And about the requirements, well, same, depends on the institution, but usually it's about your transcripts from high school, some tests, it depends on the school, GPA, SAT, ACT, AP sometimes. IB diploma is really much valued also in Europe. English test, but it's not really, depends on when you study in English all the time, you don't really have to provide this. Motivation, personal statement, kind of a holistic approach of the profile, but all it depends on the school. The UK, for instance, it's pretty strict on the requirements, and some institutions around Europe, but that's something you need to check. But these are the questions that you need to have in mind. About the student life, so just to give you, some qualities that you need to have if you really consider moving to Europe to study. So you need to be curious, open-minded, flexible. You need to adapt because it's really different, especially if you go around a lot. And that's also something that if you really want to study something general, not getting professional experience for the moment, maybe Europe is not the right place for you because at some point you're gonna have to do those internships, and that's totally fine. Not wanting to have these internships at bachelor level, I mean. So these are the kind of questions that you need to keep in mind in terms of qualities, but that's also the qualities that you can develop along the way, obviously, because you're still young. So, and about the student life, it depends on the countries. We can say that some cities are really much more for students. For example, Krakow in Poland, Amsterdam, what else I had in mind? Lyon in France, Switzerland is not really, it's a little bit more formal, but yeah, Budapest, I lived in Budapest and there are many international students coming from all over the world for veterinary studies, medical studies, dentistry. They are really well known for that in Hungary, although the political situation, well, that's something else. So yeah, you have this kind also of orientation study programs. We are paired with students already enrolled, and they can show you around and give you some tips as well. and many student associations, but this is also the case in the US, obviously. You have also something that you can participate in, but like Kevin said, I think we need to check that, but it's programs from different organizations in the EU, and not only in the EU. But these are seminars and trainings for young people. I did 2 of them in Italy and in Macedonia, and it gathers many different students and young professionals, but also professionals from the education world. And they are oriented on different topics for young people. So this is something that you can do beyond university and that are really useful for you, because it's other kind of experiences that you can get outside of courses and outside of institutions. I can give you more information about that if you want. Well, the benefits, yeah, I just basically copy-pasted what I saw, but these are just something that you can find on the website that I will show you in the end. Well, they say 7 of the world's 10 happiest countries are in Europe. That's probably true. So these are the 8 benefits, and about the useful resources that you can access online from the European Commission, obviously, but also this website, as I was already mentioned the Study in Europe website. Study in Europe fairs, you have a list of fairs, but they don't have many fairs in the US. But some of them are virtual fairs, so you can access also these fairs. And this is really good for you if you want a list of institutions participating in these fairs, so you can get, you know, more options, more choices. That's something that I advise you to do, to check for this kind of fairs which institutions participate. Study EU, QS, and study portals. This one is really that this is a screenshot from this last resource. And you can find all the bachelor programs, but it's not only in Europe, it's worldwide, for bachelor, masters, PhD. So this is really useful because pretty much all the universities and institutions, they list their programs on this website. And something also important, national agencies for, you know, promoting studies, higher education abroad. So you have many different for almost each country. Campus France, the British Council, obviously the most well-known one. DAAD, the German one, and all of that. And you can find useful information as well on these websites and get in touch with the representatives to ask any questions, especially about, you know, paperwork and all of that. And sometimes for some institutions, you need to go through those agencies as well. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. And yeah, that's just about the program that I represent, but you are more welcome to.
I'm interested.
Yeah, but I don't know if other people are, if you are interested. We're just a few words. We're just unique because we have these 6 campuses in Europe, but we are only specialized in management and business and related fields. So that's not for everybody, obviously.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does the multi-campus choice work? If I'm a student, how do I choose where to start from? Is it always first location? Oh.
These are the tracks possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
was wondering.
Yeah, it's not a la carte.
Right.
You need to.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we
they
need
can get
to.
driving crazy.
Yeah, we need to drive a little bit the flux of people, students around the year. So yeah, that's the possibilities.
And which is your most popular one?
Most popular, many students, they want to go to London the first year because it's only offered the first year. Paris, it depends, especially on the events going on. So, yeah. Yeah. And some of them, they are not really well known, but Turin is a really nice campus and nice city as well. So, you know, these are the things. Do you have any questions about studying in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the dirty word Brexit.
That's something that, you know, I cannot talk about that because even Theresa May cannot talk about it. So
Okay.
that's That's just really blurry at the moment, the
Okay, so we
Brexit,
have
and we don't know what's next, especially for Europe. I doubt that they will come to an agreement by March
But
2019.
for instance, for your school,
no idea.
you will still have a campus on?
Oh yeah,
in
yeah,
London,
definitely, yeah.
But still pay the European fare
It-
fees?
It will be the same because it's still Europe, but it's just in terms of visas for international students, and yeah, more paperwork, obviously. But yeah, for now it's gonna work the same. Yeah, but they are prepared for that. They've been preparing themselves for this because it's especially for students it's really complicated. So they anticipated pretty much as they could. So yeah, they are scared of the situation.
No, this one is to follow now.
Yeah.
Which way is the easiest way to access? Through the high school diploma or the French baccalaureate?
It depends on the. You mean in general?
Yeah, in general, yes.
It depends on the institution.
Your schools.
Ah, for my school, well,
Yeah.
both. Both they work, and because it's.
But by example, for ESSEC, it's easier when you have high school diploma compared to the French baccalaureate. It's much more easier and cheaper and faster.
That's their way of
But
working.
your way.
No, it's both because we want to see that the students, they have many different. Of course, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, it depends, but for us, it's good to see that the students have 2 diplomas, and you can apply with both, or just the one that you're sure you have more chances to get in.
And mainly you base on the GPA.
No, we don't consider
No?
GPA at all in our school.
Can
No.
I add something? Just like a quick question. Like, for instance, because of the Bologna Treaty, if you for instance, in the Netherlands, or many public universities in the Netherlands, if you graduate with an American diploma, what's going to happen is they need to verify the diploma.
Yeah, but our students
Right.
graduating people they
Exactly.
they
That's
high
why
school
I was
and
going
they
to.
do French
That's why I'm saying. So that's why it's easier to use the French baccalaureate
Yeah.
because that one is already admitted because that's part of the Bologna Treaty. So that one already gives you you know exactly what if it's
Yeah, but
if
we
it's
can see that
verified.
it depends from school to school because ESSEC is totally different.
Yeah, but that's why I'm answering for public universities.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in general, those are the criteria. Because
Okay.
in public universities, at least in the Netherlands, in the Netherlands we believe that every student has access to education. So you need to just have finished a high school diploma,
I
and then you're
understand.
admitted.
Okay, perfect.
Any other? Yeah.
About the internships,
Yeah.
so that they're internal in the university or they go out to other, I don't know, enterprises or places to work or.
You mean
or
in
practice?
general, or?
In general, since day one, you said?
It depends on the schools. In our school, they can do their internships anywhere as long as their nationality, citizenship allows it. But yeah, usually the internships it's easier to do them in the country where they are. But again, it depends on the guidelines from the schools. You can
You said that starts since the 90s or when that start on universities that they start internships since the first year?
They can, but usually it's the 3rd year.
Normally it's
Second
at the
and third
end. Because normally what they do is at the end of the last semester, if you graduate, that also gives a chance to stay somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's they try to.
Yeah, that's why it's usually the 3rd year. At least at the bachelor level. Yeah. Master is different. Does that yeah.
They but it used to finish
The bachelor program
yeah.
in Europe?
A thesis
Well,
or a
sometimes they have a thesis, but sometimes they have a report on their internship, which is more professional and giving insight on the first experience in the professional world. So it depends on the school. That's something that you also need to ask or to check online. But yeah, both. I would say both. Sometimes it's even both. You have a thesis, but also a report, smaller report to provide from your internship.
It's a small place.
Yeah. It's
It's not
at
like
the
a
at the
PhD.
bachelor level. It's yeah.
Not like a PhD or
No.
even a master.
Or master. Yeah, no. This is the first step, first contact with the thesis. What? 4 minutes? Or do you have any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And enjoy the fair.